Over the years, we've talked a lot about grooming. But in today's video, gents, we're going back 100 years. The question is, did our great-grandfathers have a better grooming routine than us? Let's start things off by talking about our great-grandfathers' washing routines in 1920. Most men did not have ready access to a bath or shower. You see, it was only in 1910 that house plans started to include the modern indoor bathroom and plumbing. Most men in the 1920s didn't live in brand new homes. So the reality is, most men in the 1920s were taking baths the old-fashioned way. Once a week, you'd pull the tub into the warmest room in the house. You would then spend the next 1 to 2 hours heating up enough water to fill up the tub, and then you would take your bath. Now, just because your great-grandfather bathed only once a week does not mean he was dirty. Men would often spot clean their arms, their armpits, their crotch area as needed. And let's talk about washing their face. Men in the 1920s routinely washed their face first thing in the morning and right before going to bed, in addition to washing their face before every meal to be presentable. And let's talk about washing your hands. Your great-grandfather, he had just gone through the Spanish flu. He understood the connection between germs and getting sick. So he washed his hands multiple times throughout the day, to include before each meal and in the evening and the morning. He also paid close attention to his nails. He was a man that worked with his hands. His nails got dirty, so he had a nail brush. And with emery boards being common since 1893 and the nail clipper patented in 1875, he took care of his nails as well. Now, as you're watching today's video, you're going to notice a few patterns. First up, most of the products your great-grandfather used in his grooming routine used natural ingredients. Sadly, from the 1930s to the present, companies have tried to save costs by taking those natural ingredients and replacing them with chemicals. The next pattern is that you've got a lot more options when it comes to products. Seriously, you got specialty scrubs, soaps, conditioners, moisturizers for the face, for the hair, for the body. Your great-grandfather, he used the same bar of soap to wash everything, which in theory sounds nice until you realize how rough this stuff can be, especially on more sensitive areas like the face. Now, wouldn't it be great if there was a men's grooming company out there that made sure all of their products were made with natural and organic ingredients? You know what would also be cool? A 100% money-back guarantee. Well, gents, you don't have to imagine it, because to a T, that describes my company, Vitaman. Seriously, if you're dealing with thinning hair and you want a natural solution, you don't want to use chemicals, check out our Thinning Care Kit. Or maybe you're dealing with dandruff, you want a natural treatment, look at our Dry Scalp Treatment Kit. Or maybe you want the best shave of your life, then look to our Barber Quality Shave Kit. Or maybe you just want to take better care of your body, look to our Ultimate Wash Kit. This is for the guy that's a high-performance man. He wants to use things that aren't going to irritate his skin. And if you just want to look younger or you want to look healthier, check out our serums. We've got you covered if you've got dark circles under the eyes, if you're dealing with wrinkles, or if you're in your 20s and you just simply want to use a skin protector to watch out and take better care of your skin. Guys, Vitaman's my company and I stand behind every product we sell. Use the link down in the description to get the best deal on the web. Use it or lose it, it's not going to be around forever. All right, gents, at this point, we're fast forwarding to 2020. Almost 70% of Americans shower every single day. The big advantage here, you don't need to spend any time spot cleaning. You get it all done in the shower, everything washed and cleaned. So it seems like the modern grooming routine has the advantage. Well, we did get lazy in some areas. First up, let's talk about washing your face. Only 46% of men on a daily basis wash their face. And of those that do, only half of them wash their face twice a day. And when you wash, you want to use a soap that's going to be gentle. When you exfoliate, you want to make sure to use an exfoliator that clears off the dead skin cells and helps your skin to rejuvenate. And if you want to give your skin the best chance to look amazing, leverage the power of moisturizers and serums. Now, what about washing hands? You'd think the modern man is better at this, right? Nope, it's not the case. In fact, only 6 out of 10 men wash their hands after using the bathroom. Apparently, 23% of men cut their nails by biting them. Next up, let's compare 1920 to 2020 dental care. So there's no easy way to put this, but most likely your great-grandfather had horrible teeth. We know this because during World War I, the US military put the poor state of their servicemen's teeth as a national crisis. We're talking less than 15% of the US population was brushing their teeth in 1920. If you weren't young, getting your teeth pulled was a very common procedure. So let's fast forward 100 years. Times have changed. Taking care of your teeth is a multi-billion-dollar market now. So what happened? In the 1920s and 30s, Companies like Pepsodent, through successful marketing campaigns, were able to inform and educate the consumer of the use of actually using their product to prevent tooth decay. The result? By the end of the 1930s, 65% of Americans were regularly brushing their teeth. In 1938, we saw the first electric toothbrush patented, and by the 1940s and 50s, dental floss was becoming much more common. Still, we have a ways to go. The gold standard is to brush your teeth twice a day, yet only 50% of people do this. In addition, you want to floss every tooth you want to keep, yet only 1 in 5 Americans floss daily. Next up, let's talk about the 1920 versus the 2020 shaving routine. In 1920, most men were clean-shaven on a daily basis. Stubble was avoided, especially in a working environment, because it was considered sloppy. Now, straight razors, which had been around for over 3,000 years, were still very popular in the 1920s. Now, the cutthroat razor was popular because it gave an amazing shave, and once you had the tool, all you had to do was strop it a few times, occasionally get it sharpened, but this was a tool that could last you a lifetime. That being said, in the 1920s, there was a new razor that was king. Versus the straight razor that took a lot of skill, this new razor, the safety razor, didn't require as much skill and was less likely to cut a man's neck. Now, prepping yourself for a shave 100 years ago, all you would do is simply take a washcloth, dip it into warm water, which you would have probably heated on the stove, and you would let that warm water sit on your face for about 2 minutes. The goal here is to have the hair on your face soak in that moisture so it can become a bit softer. He would take his shaving brush and shaving soap and create a lather. Now, shaving brushes using a boar, horse, or a badger hair were used going in a circular motion to create a lather. You would do this with the soap that was a mix of oftentimes glycerin and an oil. Then you would apply the lather evenly across the face. You want to use the brush because it does a much better job of placing the lather right underneath the hairs. Starting on the side of the face, right below the sideburns, he would shave with the grain going straight down. And another area that your great-grandfather was probably pretty good at is understanding the contours of his face. He had a technique. And let's not forget the aftershave, because in 1920, this was considered essential. Seriously, all those deaths attributed to cutthroat razors because it was a deep cut that was eventually infected. And that was the purpose of an aftershave. Anytime you cut your face, you would want to use this antiseptic, this alcohol, to basically sterilize any small cuts and nicks. And now let's fast forward 100 years. So in the year 2020, we see a different razor type that is king. This, gentlemen, is the disposable cartridge razor. Now, the most distinguishing feature of these modern blades is the use of multiple blades. 2 blades, 3 blades, 4 blades, 5+ blades. Also, they're mostly made from plastic, creating about 1 million pounds of waste yearly. Now, the multi-blade system has its advantages. With one swipe, it can give you a very close shave. It accomplishes this by lifting up the hair and then cutting it with the second or third blade. The bad part about this is for a lot of men, it can lead to ingrown hairs and bumps. Another advantage of the cartridge razor, it doesn't take really any skill to use them, and they are considered very safe. Personally, I think many men would be better served by just going back to the safety razor. Now, the modern man has a big advantage when it comes to prep, and that is the shower. You've got that warm water right there on your face, basically softening the hair. That being said, the modern man loses a lot of his advantages when it comes to his shaving cream, because this stuff that's coming out of a can, spraying out of a can, is using propane. Why do you want to put that on your face? Your grandfather used better, simpler, natural ingredients. And when it comes to the shaving process, the modern man is lost. Seriously, if you were to ask a guy, shave with the grain, shave against the grain, what is your shave map? Most men have no idea. And don't even get me started on aftershave. The modern man, because no one taught him how to shave, nobody taught him how to take care of his skin. And the sad part about this is you got access to more and better aftershave balms than your great-grandfather ever saw. From old school aftershaves that contain alcohol to aftershave balms that are absolutely painless, contain no alcohol, and do a great job of soothing the skin after you've abused it. Now, how to deal with body odor and sweating. What did your great-grandfather do in the 1920s? So in the 1920s, it was very common for men and women to use a talc powder. Talc powder works by attaching itself to the outside of the skin, absorbing moisture, and creating a dry surface. Now, unfortunately for your great-grandfather, over the last few decades, multiple studies have shown that talc is not maybe one of the safest ingredients we should be using on our body. And with that being said, 100 years later, we're using better clean products, right? The answer is, unfortunately, no. Seriously, most of us use antiperspirants, which use aluminum to block the pores in our armpits, and that stops us from sweating. Does that sound healthy to you? And don't even get me started on deodorants using cheap artificial ingredients that can cause irritation. Gents, do your research. Avoid antiperspirants. Use natural deodorants that use ingredients like lavender oil, white tea leaf extract, aloe vera, and blue cypress oil. Now let's get into hair care in 1920. Now, the two most popular products for men's hair in the 1920s was Brillatine and petroleum jelly. Brillatine is a scented oil that gives hair a glossy look and basically keeps it matted down. And that was the point, because products in the 1920s weren't meant to really style your hair, they were meant to keep it down because you were going to be wearing a hat most of the time. So knowing that, you may not be surprised to find out that there were really just 3 popular hairstyles in the 1920s. The first option was the simple slick back. Simple, elegant, classic. Guys would simply comb their hair straight back and call it a day. Now the second option, and you've probably seen it in a number of old school movies, was simply parting the hair straight down the middle. Again, you don't really have to overthink this one. It's all about keeping the hair down flat next to the head. Now the last option, and this is one still popular today, and that is the side part. Now this style was very popular for older men and was a great way to kind of do the comb over, look like you still had some hair on the head, at the same time would work perfectly fine when you put that hat on top. So let's fast forward 100 years. What are your hair options today? Well, gents, when it comes to products, you have dozens of options. Creams, lotions, textured powders, mousses, hair serums, flex hold hairspray. And again, it comes down to what do you want your hair to do? The undercut, the quiff, the pompadour, the crew cut, the buzz cut, the tasseled look, the fade, the hockey cut. The reality is, once men stopped wearing hats in the 1960s, the number and types of hairstyles that became acceptable exploded. And with that being said, what are the most popular hairstyles for men? Find out, gentlemen, in this video right here.